Many years ago, I'm going to start with a little story. Many years ago, there was a temple in Thailand, and it was the temple of the Golden Buddha. In this temple, on a pedestal, there was a big golden Buddha. Now, the neighboring country's army came to town and wanted to invade the village. And the monks came to the ingenious idea to cover up the golden Buddha with mud, so it looked like a stone Buddha, and it didn't have any value. So, sure enough, the neighboring army came to town, looked at the Buddha, saw it as a stone Buddha, as there's thousands of Buddhas in Thailand, and just went along and didn't, plunder it. Now, years went by, and the neighboring army was still in the town. And it came the day when even the monks in the temple forgot that the Buddha was actually golden. They thought there was a stone Buddha in the temple. Until one day, a monk was praying at the bottom of the Buddha, and he got up, and a little chip fell down, and he saw gold coming out of the Buddha. And he got really excited, got all his monks together, and he said, the Buddha is golden, the Buddha is golden. They all came rain, they saw he's telling the truth, got the pickles out, and unearthed the golden Buddha. Now, why am I telling you all this? It's really a metaphor. It's a metaphor for you, for everybody. See, we all are born golden. We're golden by nature. We're born connected. We're born joyful. We're born knowing truth. Look at kids. We know all that. But then something happens. We go to school. We're told, don't do this, sit still. This is a boy, this is a girl. And we start to create this layer, this casing around us that is very much a layer of stone around the gold. And we start to believe, maybe at the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, we ourselves start to believe that we are the stone and not the gold anymore. And then something happens. Something that cracks the casing. Something that scares us. Maybe it's the end of a relationship, maybe financial crisis, maybe somebody dies that you love. And in those moments, your casing cracks and you can see that underneath it, there's actually gold. And I think some of us have witnessed those moments. And in those moments, when you have that moment and realize that there's something deeper inside of you that is golden, that is true, that is bliss, I don't think we will ever be satisfied with the stone anymore, so we take all our lives to take the pickle and hammer away the stone to reach to the gold. I had my armor cracked, and we talked about this just before I got on stage. 2011, 5 years ago, I came out of a long relationship myself. I was at the end of my first university degree, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was lost. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I really had no clue how to go on. And in those moments, I really had a crack in my armor that, now looking back, displayed something that was gold. And I had one mentor, one friend that really helped me in that time, and now looking back, gave me a piece of advice that really was a nugget of gold. And I want to share that piece of advice, and I want to have that kind of as a theme for the 20 minutes that we're going to share today. And that piece of advice was also the reason why I started to be with Enactus and do the things that I'm doing today. It was, he said, his biggest skill in life was to give without expecting anything in return. I have that written down here. And I was at this very low moment in my life, and I was really down for everything. I was waiting for something to happen, so I took this advice, and I really didn't know what I was going to do with it. But I said, I'm going to experiment what it means to give without getting anything in return. And that now was the theme for the last 3-4 years in my life, that I really took the theme and looked at how can I find an outlet to manifest this understanding in the real world. And it was through this understanding that I met Kai, who introduced me to Enactus, then introduced me to $1 glasses. And Petra touched on it. $1 glasses was, for me, in the last 3 years, the outlet to really manifest this understanding. $1 Glass is a very simple project, but tackles a very big problem. There's 700 million people who need glasses, but they cannot afford them, so they really don't have access to them. Because of this, $120 billion every year are lost in income because these people can't work, they can't study, they can't live their lives. Martin Aufmuth, he's a teacher from Erlangen, invented this machine here. And with this machine, it's basically is ingenious technology. You can bend a piece of wire into a pair of glasses that then you can sell, and the production costs are less than $1. That's why it costs, or the name is $1. When I heard of this idea, I was fascinated by it. So the last 3 years, I was traveling all around the world, teaching people how to produce these glasses, and then setting up social businesses around it. And we heard so much about social business today. I think so many beautiful products come from this group of people. So I'm very excited to share this social business to those who don't know it yet. We build a social business that takes local people to produce glasses on this machine, which is it's really not a machine. It's like a bending device. It's like a mechanical bending. So you take a wire, you bend it, get a pair of glasses. And the really cool thing about the glasses is that you can clip in the lenses. So you can really take this technology, produce glasses, then we school people to make outreaches, meaning that they become an optical consultant. They get all the optical training they need so they can measure people. And then we go out and sell it, basically all the people that need it in developing countries, in Africa and South America, and therefore reach people that would otherwise never have access to glasses. Today, 3 years later, we are in 7 different countries, and we have 80 full-time employees who are local people, and have today sold 25,000 glasses, which is really just a start, because 700 million and 25, there's a big gap. We're setting it all up. It's way more complicated than we have thought, as you probably all know when you start a project. And we're at the beginning of scaling up nationally in the different countries. We're going to see a lot of growth. But the one thing that I'm really, really excited about this project right now that I want to share with you, and I haven't shared it with many people, is that as one of the few companies that I see, we're actually on a bigger level trying to reach and build infrastructure, sales infrastructure for the poorest people in the world. There's not many companies doing that. There's maybe Nestle, Coca-Cola, but not many companies who actually want to help the people with products that they need are building sales infrastructures because there's no money to be gained from that. So we're doing that with glasses because it's one need that has to be fixed. But once the sales infrastructure is in place, you can latch on other products. And a lot of your ideas come in there. A lot of other products are needed. So this is $1 glasses in a nutshell, but I want to spend my time speaking about $1 glasses. Petra asked me to share some of my learnings, my insights that maybe help you to crack your casing just a little bit and display some of your gold inside. So I want to talk about this guy. Here's a couple of pictures more, I think, of this is the glasses on an old lady in Burkina. This is me traveling, yoo-hoo. This is our team in Burkina Faso. And now I want to talk about this. I don't believe people are looking for the meaning of life as much as they're looking for the experience of being alive. This is a very interesting statement. It's one of my favorite quotes, and it's said by this man, Joseph Campbell. Probably none of you guys know Joseph Campbell, but Joseph Campbell is a fascinating figure. He's a mythologist, what they call him. He is the guy that goes and studied every single story in human history. He looked at all the mythological Greek, ancient, Native American stories up to our new movies and stories that we're told, to all the religious texts, the Bible, the Quran. He looked at all the different stories for one reason. He wanted to find patterns. He wanted to find the story within every story. And what he found, and this is fascinating, is that there is one story within every story. Every story that we hear, every movie that we watch, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, They're all different facets, different ways of telling one single story that is repeated over and over and over and over again, and we don't even notice. And this one story is what he called the monomyth. Mono, one, myth, story, one story. Or a little bit more palatable, it's the hero's journey. The hero's journey. And the hero's journey is so fascinating because why are we watching all these movies if they're all telling the same story? The hero's journey is very simple. It goes through 3 different stages, and if you think about it, you probably, if you have your favorite movie in mind, you're gonna see how your favorite movie is actually evolving around the same story. It starts with the hero here in the known world. Frodo Boydleen is in the Middle-earth, and he's going through his life, and he's having a good old time playing soccer or something. It's just a normal life, nothing special. But something is missing. And what happens then in every story is that the hero gets a call to adventure. The call to adventure comes in many different forms, but it tells the hero, hey, listen, there's something waiting for you. There's a mission for you to go on. And usually the hero says, I don't know, I don't want to leave my nest, it's so comfortable here. And he kind of never leaves, but then eventually leaves, and this is when the story starts. The story starts when the hero goes into the unknown. And in the unknown is when Frodo leaves Middle-earth and goes on his journey. It's when, in The Matrix, which is my favorite movie, Neo meets Morpheus and takes the red pill. In the unknown, the hero starts to go through his challenges. He faces his fears. He slays his dragons, as Joseph Campbell says. He goes through big challenges. He has to face some ordeals. Then there's mentors, there's helpers, there's a loved one that teaches him something, that brings him along the way. And he goes through all that. That's what we think as the story of a movie, right? All these challenges. And it all culminates in what Joseph Campbell calls the abyss. And the abyss is really the climax of our story. It's a transformation. It's a death in rebirth transformation. That's what Joseph Campbell calls it. And that's very interesting. Why does he call it death and rebirth? That's a very crass way of putting a transformation. But it's a death and rebirth transformation because the hero has to let something go completely and become something new to really become the hero of the story. And death and rebirth, in my mind, it's like the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. I don't know if anybody of you know that a caterpillar doesn't grow into a butterfly. That doesn't happen. What happens is that the caterpillar eats itself, it digests itself, it becomes a soup of cells, and then out of the soup of cells, the butterfly is born again. So it really dies before he's reborn. And that is what happens to the hero here. Now the last part is, and we know that, for example, from Star Wars, is that through the transformation, the hero gets something, he gets wisdom, and he goes back into his community and shares that with the community. Now, why am I telling you all this? The interesting thing, and this is what I want to share with you, is that all these stories really tell only one story because there isn't only one story. And we're also fascinated about this one story because the story is about us. When we go to a movie and we really like it, we don't like it because we think it's a good story. We like it because it reminds us of our journey, of our own journey. And so the hero's journey and the map that Joseph Campbell laid out is not a map to look at for different movies. It's a map for your life. And once you see that, it's really interesting because now you can see where you are on that map and what your next steps are. So I look at this as something that helps me to understand where I am and what I'm going through and what is next for me, and really put it into perspective. And I want to share just 5 little insights that I had on my hero's journey, as far as I've come right now, that might inspire something in you, might crack the casing a little bit. And that is, number 1, it's really simple. If you look at the hero's journey, it only starts in the unknown. Yeah, you are the hero, your own story. The journey only starts outside of the known. I see so many people, and I mean, being here in Enactus already is something that is outside of the comfort zone for many people. But I see so many people who want to do something but never get out of what they actually are living in right now. Real growth only happens if you get out of the comfort zone. It only happens if you take the call to adventure. The call to adventure is really interesting to me because the call to adventure can be anything. It doesn't have to be somebody calling you and telling you, oh my God, we're going to go on this adventure. Please pack your bag, I'm coming in 5 minutes. The call to adventure can be a thought that crosses your mind. Something that you think you want to do and is bugging you because there's an adventure waiting for you, but you don't do it, or you might. It can be an invitation from a friend. It can be anything. So I would encourage you, listen to your call to adventures more, because there's many all the time. Know your tools. Fear is your compass. I mean, those people who know me, I think Kai, I told you this so many times already. Fear, for me, is my compass, because if you look at the hero's journey, really the biggest part is the hero slaying his dragons. And slaying his dragons means he's facing his fears. Now, if that is the biggest part, then you should go into your fears and not go away from your fears, like most people tend to do, but go through your fears to actually slay your dragons as fast as possible. And the other part is, a fear is just an indicator for you that something is happening that you cannot deal with yet. If you're fearful of something, your body and your mind is telling you, I don't know if I can do that because I don't know if I can handle the skill level that is required for me when I go through this. In reality then, fear is just telling you that if you go through this, you're gonna up level. You're gonna become something new. You're gonna have a death rebirth experience. You have a transformation. So it's a sure-tell compass sign that if you go through your fears, that there will be something awesome happening for you. So I use fear as my compass. Focus. It sounds very simple. One of the big characteristics of Joseph Campbell's characters, of all the movies, of all the stories ever told, is that the hero is monomaniacal. Monomaniacal means that mono, one, mania, crazy. He's crazy about one thing. We have to realize that if we want to do the things that we want to do, we cannot dabble around on Facebook all day. That's not going to cut it. We have to become crazy. We have to become focused. And not many people in our world today are focused. Not many. I tell you that. I'm not focused all the time. I wish I could be a lot more focused. Because if you get focused, you become really focused on one thing, that thing happens a lot faster. So if you want to become your hero of your own journey, realize that you cannot be distracted by media, by all the temptations that we have available around all the time. You have to become self-disciplined to focus on the thing that you want to do. And also, so many people have questions in their life they want to get an answer to, but they don't actually look at them. I have a good friend of mine who right now doesn't know what he wants to do, like professionally, and he goes out and parties all the time and never looks at the actual question. So I make it a full-time job to answer the questions that I have for myself. Focus. This guy is very smart, apparently. He's in every magazine that you have ever seen, probably. Example is not the best way to teach, it's the only way to teach. That means that school is really strange because it really doesn't teach us anything. Because it gives us something, it tells us something, but it doesn't show us anything. The best way to learn is to find people who do something that you want to do, and then go and hang out with them. Because then, only by their example, you're gonna learn everything that you need. So the biggest part for my journey, and also for the hero's journey of Joseph Campbell's, are mentors. I talked about my mentor who gave me the nugget of gold for me, the give without expecting anything in return. Mentors are the key to everything, because they are the example that teaches you. So attract mentors. I don't say get mentors, because you don't get them, you attract them. You give something first, and then those mentors want to hang out with you. And as these guys tell us, don't judge me by my size, do you? Don't think that if people are not beautiful and super successful or whatever outside thing you want to attach to, that they don't have anything to teach you. Everything has anything to teach you. Your grandmother does. A bird in the sky does. You just have to be open to realize that everything wants to teach you in its own way. And finally, I can't have a presentation for Enactus without talking about this guy. I think the Munich people know him. This is Süleyman Siguri, and he's one of my best friends and my partner in crime, as I say, for $1 Glass in Burkina Faso. Now, you don't see it in this picture, but Süleyman is handicapped. He can't walk. He had polio when he was 5 years old, and since then he can't move his legs. Now, that means in Africa, basically, that you're gonna die. That is the reality. Most people that are handicapped in Africa die. Now, Süleyman is also a very, very, very smart man and very motivated man. So he told me the story that in his family, he wasn't really regarded as a human being. They would having dinner and they would not giving food. That means in Africa that you're not gonna survive, probably. But what he did when he was 18, he went to the city, and you see a little bicycle on the side. He was driving that with his hands, went to the city, Ouagadougou, studied accounting, studied architecture, really tried to make something happen. This guy lived from 10 cents a day for 10 years. That's not something, I tell you, that is like reality. He showed me that. And so he really inspires me. Because right now, he is very successful. He's the CFO of our company. Oh. And yeah, he's Yoda. He has a suit, he has a bike. He doesn't have to drive with his bike. He has a real bike, motorbike. He has a house. He's soon gonna get a wife, marry. And when I have a bad day, I think about Süleyman. And when you ask me the reason why I work for $1 Glasses, the reason is Süleyman. And I'm not kidding you. Because I had many times that didn't want to do the job that I'm doing because it's hard. It's hot, and it's a crazy world out there, and there's not many white people, and you're always the outsider, and it just doesn't work, and it's all really slow. But I can't quit because this guy. I can't leave him alone. So the last thing I want to leave you with is really find something bigger for yourself, bigger than yourself. Find something different than just yourself to be motivated by. Because there's a lot of people that need your help, and just to be focused on yourself is a little narrow-minded. One thing that really changed my life was to realize that to not develop your full potential, to not really become the person that you want to become or can become, to go on your hero's journey, is the most selfish thing you can do. Because if you don't do it, you rob everybody around you and all the people that need you of your gifts. So it's not about you anymore. It's about anybody else. It's about everybody that needs you. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. Thank you.